just for the record.
Yep.
Yes.
Andy, how are you?
I'm doing well. I don't know.
Hey, so you're
I
empty?
lost my video.
Yes.
We can see
You're
you.
on?
I can hear everyone.
Andy, if you click on the little Zoom link at the bottom of the screen, there's a little
Okay.
camera, blue icon.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I'm back.
It should pop in. There you go.
Thank
He
you
was
very much.
able to guide you through the reflection of your glasses. Nice work, Paul.
You like that, yeah?
Eh,
Tech director. That's why I'm here.
All right.
So
We have somebody extra in here too. Is Mike supposed to be promoted forward here? Mike Burchek?
I think he's a architect for one of the lower cases.
Here was Steve Papa.
Okay. I don't know why he's up yet, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's the, well, third case on the list, so.
Here we go.
all right, so I apologize for the delay. So this evening, this meeting is being a virtual meeting, as all of our meetings have been almost for a year now. So we will be taking public comment one of four ways. Public comment could have been dropped off in the drop box out front of the building, and I will check that in just a few moments. You can also make public comment by raising your hand at the appropriate time. When the chairman recognizes or asks for public comment, you can raise your hand either by phone or by video. If you, for some reason, are having trouble doing that, you can send an email to publiccomment@newtowntownship.org. Please include the name of the screen, that your screen name or your phone number, so we know which person to bring up and allow to speak. If by chance you just want to submit written comment, you can also do it at publiccomment@newtowntownship.org. Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you. I am going to step out just a second to go down and check the blue box.
Okay.
And I will be right back.
All right. We just finished up an executive session regarding applications Z2021-01 and Z2020-25. I just wanted to put that on the record that we did have that executive session. And I will now just jump into our roll call for the board. Joe Silk,
here.
Paul San Francisco,
Here.
Michael Lynch,
Here.
Edward Burzes.
Here.
All right, so we have all of us here. And I'll wait for Steve to get back before we jump into our first case here. And then if you are here for the Z2021-01 application, if you want to just raise your hand to make it a little easier for Steve to find you, that's for the Doan Family Enterprises. This way we can promote you forward. See anybody raising their hand? All right, Jay, we see your hand there. Let's wait for Steve to get back to promote you forward. And Andy, I guess, I know this is a case we're hearing from last month, but I may as well check. Is that file in order?
The file's in order, yes.
All right.
The record, I believe, was closed on both the applications for 4700 Westchester Pike as well as 18 Clover Lane. I believe they're the two cases that require a decision.
Okay. And you know what? Actually, the other thing we can get out of the way too while waiting for Steve is get our Pledge of Allegiance.
It's not something we get out of the way. That's something.
I knew you were going to say that, Mike.
Something
Good
we
for you,
get to
Mike.
do
I pledge allegiance
with a flag.
Flag of the United States of America.
to the
To the
republic
republic.
Which stands
one nation
Nation.
under
Under
God.
God, indivisible,
indivisible.
liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, I will read the application that is going to be up first. So it's Z 2021-01 Doan Family Enterprises, 18 Clover Lane, Newtown Square, PA, pertaining to the subject property, seeking a variance as per section 172-103 for a non-residential accessory structure. Subject premise is located in the C1 zoning district. The applicant also requests relief from any other sections of zoning ordinance that may be realized as being required during the zoning hearing process. This is a case that we heard last month, and we're making a decision on this month. Steve, was there anything?
There was no public comment in the blue box. I'm going to check the email real quickly.
Okay. And then Steve, when you get a chance, do you want to promote Mr. Wills forward too for this case? He has his
Go ahead
hand
and
raised.
Do that first.
Yeah, what?
You said Mr. Wills?
Yeah, he has his hand raised. I just asked for whoever was here for this case to raise their hand. All right, Mr. Wills. If you can hear us, you're muted right now.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, is it just you, Mr. Wills?
I believe so.
Okay, and you're what, the attorney, I guess, for the Doan family? Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. So we did have an executive session prior to this to discuss this case. And you know, a couple things kind of popped up. Andy, actually, I have a question for you based on the size of the shed that they're looking to put in there. Would that fit within the size that's allowed for a residential house in that same area? Because I know their request. Yeah,
No.
sorry.
Well, our sizes are based upon the zoning district.
Yeah.
And obviously they are only for residential districts. So there's nothing to really compare it to. However, I believe the largest shed structure that we allow is 150 square feet. And I believe this one was 200. I'll have to look.
I think it's 240.
240 square feet.
Yeah.
So it's about 90 square feet larger than what we would permit in a residential district.
And that kind of, that came up in our executive session. Just, they're asking for something that is more commonly requested in a residential district, but, even going beyond that and asking for a larger size than will be allowed there. If this is something we are to grant or move forward with, is the Doan family willing to change the size of the shed that they're looking to put in?
What would be the maximum allowable shed that the board would consider then?
So we were saying if that fits within the same size constraints as a residential shed request is what, would you say 150 square feet, Andy?
Yes.
Yeah, the applicant would be amenable to a maximum shed of 150 feet if that's a concern to this particular board.
Yeah, I think, in the request coming in and being something that is more residential, we figured that it should stay in line then with what, a residential property is also allowed to have. So that would be my one contingency that I would want to put on there, is the size being at 150 square feet. But I don't know if any of the other board members have any questions or anything that they would want to add if I was, prior to making any motions.
Yeah, I think we also talked about the special exception aspect of this, where this zoning district did not have a ability to put a shed. And Sam, maybe you can steer us again here, but there was came down to applicable use, in which case a special exception could be granted. And that's the route we considered in our session, correct?
Yes, there's under 172-70, it allows for permitted uses in a C1 district where a building may be erected or used and a lot may be used or occupied for the following purposes. And it provides under section M, accessory uses on the same lot that are customarily incidental to any of the above permitted uses, and not seriously detrimental to a neighborhood when authorized by a special exception. So there is a basis if the board should choose to grant a special exception.
And I think additionally, the consideration for granting the special exception here would be contingent on the setback requirements being met, even though there, I guess isn't setback requirements for sheds in C1 zoning. And then also, the power, no power or water, basically for storage only, that with the idea that it couldn't be converted into office space in the future if needed. That's what we were discussing earlier.
Yeah, absolutely, gentlemen. That is correct.
So, all right, I'll make a motion to grant application Z 2021-01 for the Doan Family Enterprises with the contingencies that the shed does not exceed 150 square feet in size, that there is no plumbing or electric supplied to this shed, but also that it meet the same setback requirements as to what would be acceptable in residential space. So, Andy, if that's something that could be applied there when they file for their actual permit to do this. Aside from that, is there a second?
I'll second.
State your name.
Paul San Francisco.
All right, all those in favor, and state your name as.
Aye, Joseph.
Aye, Ed Burzes.
All right. All right,
I'm gonna vote against Michael Lynch.
all right, well, motion carries, so good luck, Mr. Wills.
Thank you for your courtesies, gentlemen. Thank you. Have a good
You
evening.
got it, you too.
You as well. Thank you.
All right, the next application we have here is Z 2020-25, Robert and Dorothy Rafferty for 4700 Westchester Pike, Newtown Square, pertaining to the subject property seeking variances as per section 172-100.20B, subsection 4A2 of the Newtown Township Zoning Code for size of an accessory structure in the floodplain management district and section 172-103 for a non-residential accessory structure. Subject premise is located in the SU2 zoning district. The applicant also requests relief from any other sections of the zoning ordinance that may be realized as being required during the zoning hearing process. Can we go ahead and promote forward it looks like Bob Rafferty. And if there's anybody else that does need to be promoted forward, if you could raise your hand. And Steve, do we want to move Mr. Burchek and Mr. Wills out of here now? Mr. Burchek's for one of the other later cases. I think he was accidentally promoted forward.
Okay, wait a second.
And Mr. Rafferty, is it just you that's here on your behalf right now?
Yes, it is. Good evening, gentlemen.
How are you?
No, hanging in there, not too bad.
So this is another one of the cases that we did have an executive session to discuss. I don't, if any of the other board members want to jump in here, if you do have any questions for Mr. Rafferty or any concerns over what he's looking to do here, please, by all means, jump in. And Andy, is this file in order? I know, is the record also closed as well? So is the file in order?
Yes, file is in order.
All right. And I may as well, I know, do I have to even see if there's anybody here, I guess that's a party protestant since the record's closed, or no?
I don't believe there was any party protestants at the.
I guess no. Yeah, no one on the record last time. That's true. Okay. Does any board members have any questions for Mr. Rafferty or any?
My only question, just to make sure I understood it correctly last time when we talked, the real only hardship here, given this is a variance application, was you just ran out of storage space, I think for car bumper covers or something like that, and you just needed more space, and this shed provided the space, essentially. That was the hardship here.
Yes, that's correct.
And the old shed that is coming down, correct?
Correct, it will.
Okay.
That's all I had, Kevin.
All right. Mike or Ed, any questions?
Yeah, I think my question is more of just like a broader issue. Like, I don't want to punish success, but we do, I do want to make sure that you guys have a plan for storage going forward, and I don't want to make this decision in that context. I'll let you comment on that. Otherwise, I'm prepared to make a motion.
My plan for storage going forward would be another facility, somewhere. I am currently negotiating with a parcel of land, relatively close to the store, not in Newtown Square. Yeah. Which if we got like kind of round one going negotiations, but I am any additional storage would be offsite. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's good for context. I definitely want to make it clear on the record that your future storage considerations are not, they're not contingent on this decision or whatnot. Two totally separate issues. That was just, okay. I guess we were talking about that before the meeting started. So that's
fine. That's fine. I agree with that. That's fine.
Yeah.
And before we make any motion to here, just Andy, any concerns over or anything that if this motion were to be approved, that any contingencies you can think of that should be in there based on the location of where he wants to put it or anything like that?
Well, we're going to assure that the anchoring is proper. I mean, that's the biggest concern with that fact being it's in the floodplain. So we'll make sure that that's correct and has correct anchoring through engineering before a permit's issued.
Okay. All right.
I mean, with all that, unless there's
I'm fine with that. I'll work with Andy any way he wants, as he instructs us the proper anchoring system, that's fine.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve zoning case 2020-25, Robert and Dorothy Rafferty, 4700 Westchester Pike for the variance.
You want to put the contingency in there for, removal of the old shed and that it meets.
Yes, with the added contingency of removal of the old shed and
proper.
Goes without saying, but working with the township for securing the building.
All right.
Very good.
All right, Ed Burzes, I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye, Kevin Basswell.
Hi, Paul San Francisco.
All right. So we have 4. So motion carries.
Has everybody voted on the record?
Joe?
Against.
All right. 4-1 in your favor, Mr. Rafferty. Good luck.
Thank you very, very much, gentlemen, for all your time over the last several months with this. So I appreciate it. Thank
Got
you.
it. All right. So I'm going to, just because I know that this next application, 2021-04, will probably take a bit longer. Is everybody okay on the board if I jump ahead to 2021-05?
Go ahead.
I'm fine.
All right. All right. So we're going to move forward with case Z 2021-05, Maria Posadas, 3557 Woodcrest Ave in Newtown Square, pertaining to the subject property, seeking a special exception as per section 172-141F for expansion of a non-conforming use. Subject premise is located in the R2 zoning district. The applicant also requests relief from any other sections of the zoning ordinance that may be realized as being required during the zoning hearing process. If you are here for that case, Maria Posadas, please raise your hand or make it a little easier for. Oh, you got her. All right. Can you hear us? Maria? Maria, if you can hear us, we can't hear you. Can you hear us? Do we want to, maybe we'll just jump back then and go to the other case for now while she figures out what's going on? Is that all right?
She needs to unmute. Did she unmute?
think-
Okay.
I think
Yes,
she's
hello,
unmuted
I'm
now.
here. Sorry.
How you doing? How do you say your last name, just so I don't?
Oh,
say
that's
it
okay.
incorrect?
Posadas. Yeah, Posadas.
All right. All right. Ms. Posadas, the floor is yours. Before you actually do go, Andy, is the file in order?
The file's in order.
All right. And just to check, do we have anybody that is here as an attendee right now that would like to go on the record as a party protestant? And Steve, I know we talked about this before, but explain to everybody what the difference is between public comment and party protestant. We want to go over that.
So my understanding for party protestant, you need to be in a position where you are directly impacted. And there is if you were within a certain number of feet, and I apologize, I don't have it right in front of me. We have notified you specifically about this case. And so if you're one of those folks, you can be a party protestant. If you have another reason why you could petition the board to be a party protestant. In doing so, the difference between party protestant and just making public comment is that a party protestant has the opportunity to ask questions of any witnesses that are presented or any statements that are made regarding the specific application. The party protestant also has a chance to call their own witnesses. The party protestant has the ability to put on any case that they wish to make on their side as well. They also have the right, there's some appeal rights that go along with that. They also get a copy of the case, anything that has gone on in the case itself. And I may be missing one other thing, but those are the additional benefits of being a party protestant if you wish to be. Anyone can make public comment. The board will take public comment before making the decision.
All right. Thank you. So do we have anybody here that would like to make public comment or go on the record as a party protestant? If you would, please, virtually raise your hand now. And Steve, I know you mentioned there's nothing, I guess, no emails or letters or anything associated with this.
I'll check the email box again just to make sure. No,
There
nothing new in
does
email
appear
box.
to, there does appear to be a neighbor support letter on the agenda.
Okay. Is it in the, it's in the file here?
It is.
Yes.
All right.
I can pull up anything that the board asked me to pull up.
That sounds good. So,
Or-
Mr. Posadas, the floor is yours then. So go ahead and present your case.
Kevin,
Okay,
can we
Oh.
swear her in?
How
Oh,
did you
yes.
swear in there first?
Sorry.
No problem, Maria. Maria, do you swear the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. So I reside at 3557 Woodcrest Avenue. With the support of my neighbors, I'm looking to build a deck to improve the value of the home along with added outdoor living space. The deck will be similar or exactly the same size as my adjacent neighbor, as you see in the photo. The photos show all the neighbors who built a deck since I've been living here. As you see, one of the neighbors built a deck, enclosed it for a family room, and added a deck. The request of the building permit does not go against the character of the neighborhood. If anything, it will improve the property of the value in Newtown Square. As we all know, Newtown Square is a very desirable area.
This is where,
Eh,
is that a neighbor's deck that we're looking at there? Or?
So what you see in this photo is the neighbor who built the deck, and I'm looking to build a very similar deck to what he did, to be adjacent right to the back of the home.
So this-
Andy,
sorry. I may be able to help kind of explain the dimensional requirements. So the reason this is before you is it's a non-conforming lot. The setback is minimum 20 feet. As you can see, is shown on the schematic site plan that's up on your screen now. And unfortunately, the existing deck that we're speaking of on the neighbor's home is set back at 12.5 feet. And again, in our code, when it speaks to non-conforming structures, whenever there's an expansion of that structure, it requires a special exception approval by this board. So that's the reason Mrs. Posadas is here before you this evening.
So in this rendering that we're looking at here, you're the property on the right-hand side here of this?
Correct.
Okay.
Can I just make a, I'm sorry, can I just make a note? There's 90 feet where the deck is gonna end to the back of the property, and there's more 20 feet to the right of the deck. So I'm just looking to build the same size deck, if very similar to his existing deck on my side of the property.
Okay.
I'm just looking at an aerial view of this. You don't have a back neighbor, do you?
I do not. It's open land.
That's like a parking lot.
It's not even, it's just flat grassland. It's not even a parking lot. If I'm on the deck to face the backyard, it's just plain, flat, grassy land.
And is the problem here just because of how close is being built to the existing structure? Is that?
The property line.
Okay.
It's a non-conforming setback.
Okay, gotcha.
And Andy, did we approve that last deck?
We have no record of that deck. I can't speak to that. I don't know when that deck was constructed, and there's nothing in the file.
Okay.
Can I make another note? Oh, sorry. Can I make another note? I've been in this home for the last 20 years. With this in Enclave, 3 people have built a deck without any issues. And like I've mentioned before, one of the residents built a deck, enclosed the deck, and added another deck. And on either side of the property, both neighbors built a deck without any issues.
So is one of the letters that you have from the neighbor that you're connected to?
Yes.
So the
yes,
neighbor that
and
does have.
he's agreeing with it. Yeah, he has nobody in the neighborhood has any issues with this deck.
Okay.
If anything, they're for the deck. They support it.
Andy, so structurally and everything by code besides the boundaries is okay with the township, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I mean, I don't really have many questions on this one. It seems pretty straightforward. I don't know if any of the board members have anything or questions or concerns. Do.
No, I could make a motion if,
Yeah.
make a motion to approve application 2021-05 for a special exception for setbacks pertaining to the proposed deck.
I second Michael Lynch.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye, Paul San Francisco.
Aye, Kevin Baskell.
Aye, Ed Burzes.
All right. Motion carries. Good luck, Ms. Posadas.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
You got it.
Thank you.
All right. So now we are on to application Z 2021-04 for Stephen A. Papa of Edgemont, PA, pertaining to 123 Walnut Street, seeking variances as per section 172-34B, section 1 for lot areas less than the required 12,000 square feet, section 172-109 for side yards for corner lots, and section 172-112 for front yards for corner lots. Subject premise is a corner lot located in the R3 zoning district. The applicant also requests relief from any other sections of zoning ordinance that may be realized as being required during the zoning hearing process. We have Mr. Papa promoted forward here. All right. And Mr. Papa, are you the only one here on this case? Is there anybody else that needs to be promoted forward?
There's a Mr. Murphy that's raising his hand.
All right.
Do you want me to promote him?
Yeah, let's promote him forward and see. Mr. Murphy?
No, it should be Mike Bursick.
Okay, we have a Harry Murphy that raised their hand.
Okay.
Who was it again? I'm sorry.
Mike Bursick.
Okay.
We want to now demote Mr. Murphy then? I'm guessing he's not here on your behalf.
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine.
You have party protesting or anything?
Yeah, we'll go. Yeah, I'm assuming, but we'll get him back out there until
Yeah.
If he's an objector, Kevin, I think he should be allowed into the testimony.
Oh, no, I agree. I want to get these guys sworn in, get this all figured
I'm
out, and
sorry.
then we'll see.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No worries. We'll get this way we can get this all sorted out. We got to still get Ms. Posadas, I guess, demoted out of here so we know what's what in here. But for now, Tom, do you want to swear these guys in?
Sure. All right. Who's ever testifying now, do you swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do.
Yes, I do. Okay.
All right. And is the file in order?
File is in order.
All right. And same goes, as you said in the other cases here, if there is anybody that wants to go on the record as a party protestant, can you please raise your hand now so we can get that on the record?
Please.
All right. I see we have Mr. Battaglia, Mr. Schultz. Is Patty Wilson able to go on the record as a party protestant, even though she's not within?
I think she would have to petition for the reason why, what her input would be, but your solicitor may give you direction on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If she is a party aggrieved and she requests standing to proceed, then the board can consider her as a party to the action with the requirements that Steve put on the record earlier. She has appellate rights, she has participation rights, cross-examination rights. If she has standing. Otherwise, she is a public participant and can comment accordingly.
All
So,
right.
Mr. Chair, do you want me to allow Ms. Wilson to talk and then you can determine what
Yeah.
her,
That's fine.
so,
I guess do we want to get all these people sworn in first, and then we'll promote her forward to present where she stands. This way, if anybody is going on the record here as a party protestant, we can get them sworn in.
Sounds good.
So anybody that is a party protestant, Mr. Corcoran here is going to swear you in.
Okay, do you swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. That,
All right.
was that Mr. Murphy, I guess, or Mr. Battaglia, you said?
Yes, Battaglia.
Okay,
Need to
thank
get their names and addresses.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have Mr. Battaglia, Mr. Schultz, and I think that's, Mr. Murphy, I guess. Can you please go through and state your name and address for the record here for Mr. Corcoran, please?
This is Mr. Schultz, and I am at 122 Walnut Street across the street.
What's your first name again, Mr. Schultz? I know you've been here before, but.
Dan Schultz.
Dan, okay, Dan, thanks.
This is Anthony Battaglia at 201 Walnut Street. I'm on the side of this property.
Bataglia, I guess.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
And are we missing anybody? Do we get
we've not heard from Mr. Murphy.
Hello? Do you hear me?
We can now, Mr. Murphy. Yeah, can you just state your name and address?
Okay, my name is Harry Murphy, Murphey. I live at 112 Walnut Street. So I'm just, down the block, 80 feet away from that lot.
All right, so guys, just to explain what's going on here, we're just swearing everybody in right now, getting your names on the record as party protestants. We are going to give Mr. Papa the opportunity to present his case without any interruption. You will have the opportunity to ask questions or cross-reference any witnesses that he puts up here. So please be respectful of his presentation. Ms. Wilson, we're trying to determine how you are in here as a party protestant or public comment.
I, at the very least, want to make sure that I am afforded public comment. I offer myself as someone who has been directly involved in multiple cases regarding these small lots, and as a resident of the township, and as this relates to very specifically a zoning issue that will affect every part of this township. I believe that you could afford me standing, but at the very least, I want to ensure that I am allowed to do public comment.
I'm good with public comment.
Yeah, of course.
Great.
All right, thank you. So can we move, we want to move Ms. Wilson back out then if she's just going to be, and she can raise her hand if she has questions as we move forward. So I think we're good now. Everything good to progress forward here for Mr. Papa?
Yes.
All right, so go ahead and present your case.
Good evening. My name is Steve Papa. I live at P.O. Box 72, Edgemont, PA 19028. I'm the owner and applicant of tonight's application at 123 Walnut Street, and will be representing myself along with the help of Michael Bursick, president of Bursick and Associates, who I'll introduce shortly. At the time of the application, I was the equitable owner. As of January 26, 2021, I am the current owner. If it's appropriate at this time, I'd like to enter the following exhibits, A1 through A11.
So we have in this file here that I guess it was submitted, Andy.
Yeah, I believe that we would have to go down on the agenda to the next page.
Looks like they're all here.
Yeah, they're
labeled A1, A11, 6.3. It's right in the middle of the page there. You got it.
There we go.
Perfect. Okay.
All right.
Just as some clarification, Mr. Neese, he'll be able to put things up as I need them?
If you ask me to put things up, I'll put them up. If you know what they are, I mean, obviously A1 through A11 is easy.
Yeah.
The two images, I would just need you to tell me.
I'll just call them by A1 through A11.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thanks. We're here requesting relief in area on 2 lots, section 172-34B1 from 12,000 square foot area to just over 11,000 square foot. Next 2 requests have to do with corner lots, and they had to do with just one of the lots. The first is relief from the 25-foot side yard requirement on corner lots, and the other is relief on the shorter side of corner lot to be a 30-foot setback. Some background on the property. The property is 22,000 square feet, and it's located at the corner of Walnut and Farview. There are 3 separately deeded parcels, each with its own folio number and tax ID number, held in single and separate ownership. Could I have A1 put up, please? This plan is a quick view of before and after, and we think tells a lot of information briefly. If you direct your attention to the left side of the screen, you'll see the 3 parcels. Premises A, shaded in red, is lots 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. It's irregular in shape and it's 13,500 square feet. Premises B, shaded in yellow, lots 32 and 33, 40 by 125, 5,000 square feet. And premises C, shaded in blue, lots 40 and 41, and it's 40 by 100, or 4,000 square feet. The existing house at 123 Walnut is built over 2 of the parcels, parcels A and B. If you take a minute, you can kind of just see where on the left side there, where the existing house is bisected by the yellow and the red parcel. If you direct your attention to the right side of the screen, it shows what we would like to do. We'd like to combine the parcels and move lot lines to create 2 nearly conforming lots. In fact, when the pending zoning revisions for R3 are complete, these proposed lots would be conforming. The challenge with the property is being a corner lot and having 2 front yards, along with the regulation for a corner lot to have 25-foot side yard. Makes it very restrictive. We chose to face the home on Walnut for a much better rear yard and to better conform to the neighborhood. 123 Walnut, the existing home, has a side load garage. Allowing access to it required us to have an offset in the common proposed property line. You can kind of see that offset between the 2 houses. All right. Could you just briefly put up A5? It'll show you the side load garage that we're, that's the existing house. So we're trying to allow access to that. I did notify the surrounding neighbors that I was the new owner and invited them to contact me to show them the plans. To date, I've met with 3 of the 6 contacted. I expect some of them will be here tonight. One of the residents was at least pleased to hear that only 1 new home was being considered. Could we put up A7 briefly again? That's the letter that was sent out to 6 surrounding. I'd like to go through some of the ideas we have with the property and how we got this plan before you tonight. So I'd like to introduce Mike Bursick at this time. Mike, are you on now?
Yes, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name's Mike Bursick. I'm with Bursick and Associates at 358 Main Street in Royersford. We also have a division that services Newtown and the surrounding area, Rand Engineering and Surveying, which I manage as well. I'm a professional land surveyor. I've been surveying for 33 years in the state of Pennsylvania. I've been licensed for 21 years. and have been involved in several zoning hearings very similar to this over the years. And I have prepared the plan that's been submitted tonight for review.
So if there's no objections, I'd like to offer Mike Bursick as a professional witness.
I mean, I have no objections. I feel like normally we would have like a resume that goes with it, but
The CV is there.
Is it in, I have no objections.
Do we need to vote, or is that the chairman's?
A6 is his CV.
All right. Yeah, I'm okay with this then.
Any member of the board have any objections to Mr. Bursick being classified as an expert in civil engineering?
I don't. Ed Versus.
No.
I don't.
No, I'm good.
Okay, so he is he's classified as an expert for testimony in this particular application.
Thank you. Could I have A2 put up on the screen, please? Okay, thank you. Mike, does this plan accurately reflect the property location and boundaries?
Yes, it does.
Does the plan depict the existing home and related improvements as well as what we propose to construct on the property?
It does, and I can assure you that because we surveyed that on January 11th prior to a foot of snow dropping on the property.
Okay. What is the size of the existing lot and proposed lot? Well, the proposed lots, I should say. I'm sorry.
Proposed lots, lot number 1, which would be located on the easterly side of the two lots. That lot is proposed to be 11,016 square feet. And lot number 2, 11,484 square feet, I'm sorry. That's lot 1. Lot 2, which is located at the intersection, is 11,016 square feet.
Mr. Neese, is there a way to blow up the right side of that? Can you enlarge that at all?
Are you referring to lot 2 as the property where you want to build on the new house?
Actually, the other side.
Oh, never mind. I see it on there. Okay.
There. Can you just enlarge that a little bit? Okay.
Do you want more than that?
As long as the board can see it, that's fine. I want to go on on lot 2 where will be the new proposed house. Can we show briefly what that looks like? And that's A10 for anybody who wants to see it. If you go through, there's an elevation, just keep going through. There you go. So this is the front. This plan shows a right-hand garage. The house that's proposed for this will be a left-hand garage. So it's the same elevation, just reverse handing. Okay. Mike, are these lots served by public sewer and water?
Yes, they are.
What other improvements are shown on the plans?
The plans show all the existing features, the existing house, patio, shed to the rear of the property, and also the existing gravel drive that accesses Walnut Street, as well as a proposed dwelling again on lot number 2 at the corner.
Okay. Are there any notable slopes on the property?
There are not. Relatively flat property.
Yeah, if we could go back to the plan A2.
Thank you. Yeah.
So for the benefit of anybody who is not familiar with it, would you characterize the property in general terms as sloping, moderately sloping, or flat?
I believe it'd be closer to flat if I had to describe it. Very gently sloping, but closer to flat.
Okay. What factors did we consider on the approach taken versus the other choices of like facing this house or other models of houses?
We faced the house towards Walnut really to be consistent with the other homes on Walnut Street. If you go just to the west of this, on the opposite corner, the house is fronting on Walnut, as well as the house to the east. So it's just kind of fit those homes that are at the intersection and going in both directions. So it had a better fit that way, as well as the backyard. By fronting it on Walnut Street, it's enabling for that house to have a backyard, whereas if it was turned any other way, it would be very limited.
Okay. We saw earlier premises C is a 40 by 100 foot lot. It has a deed to it. So I guess in theory, it's a buildable lot.
No, it's not.
Pardon me?
Can we not interrupt? I did ask that at the beginning. Let him present his case, please.
As I said, it's a separately deeded lot. It conforms to the zoning in 1938. How do you feel about it if someone were to force a house in there?
I don't know if it would even be possible with the current zoning. By the time you throw in all your setbacks and things of that nature, I don't even know if you'd have an envelope on that lot.
How many variants would something like that take? Because I know the township is looking at one like that in Florida Park currently.
It would take, if I had to guess, probably most of the bulk requirements, lot size, area, setbacks. It would need quite a few variances.
So we didn't face the house on Fairview for a number of reasons. One, and the biggest probably is there would be no rear yard. Do you agree with that?
That's correct.
Do you know when these lots were created?
According to the deeds, the caption of the deed notes that the lots were created at Newtown Heights, the community, in August of 1924. And then a year later, in March of 25, the plan was actually recorded, creating the lots.
So these lots of various sizes, did they conform to the zoning at the time?
At that time, yes.
Do you know what the R3 was referred to back then?
It was referred to as the E residence. E as in Eric.
Do you know what those regs were for that E residence?
It listed the front yard at 30 and the side yard minimum of 8 feet with a 20-foot aggregate.
So in your opinion,
didn't find anything regarding corner lots or anything like that.
So in your opinion, even that 40-foot lot would have been buildable by those standards?
By those standards, yes.
Could we have A11 put up, please? Are there any other homes nearby that have 30-foot front yards?
Yes.
Are there any other homes nearby that have side yards, reduced side yards?
Yes, there are. There's consistently, from what I've found, within the immediate vicinity of the house, 30 feet is pretty common for front yard setback. And if you go just east on Walnut, there's several houses with side yard setbacks that are averaging 8 feet.
Can you scroll up a little bit, Mike? There you go. So here we're seeing some with 8 and 7 feet.
Yes.
And how about lower, go down, scroll down. Okay, and I see the 27 feet and the 30 feet, which is pretty common. Okay. From a design perspective, with the 25-foot requirement on a corner lot, as well as having two 45-foot front yards, can you say if that leaves adequate room for a typical home of today's standards to fit within those setbacks?
No, it does not. Very restrictive.
So on the plan A2, we're showing a 9-foot side yard. Can you talk about that, why that's necessary?
Yeah, that 9-foot side yard, the main issue driving that is the side load garage on the existing house. We have to accommodate for that. So that's where that 9 feet comes in. And we try to keep that to a minimum. About 75% of that house has a greater side yard. It's just kind of pinched right there where the existing home side load garage is coming out.
So the balance of that, the depth of the lot, the side yard is greater than 9 feet?
It's over 22 feet, actually. For a majority of that, that side, probably 70% of that side of the house is over 22 feet from the side yard.
Over 22 feet, you said over 22? I'm sorry.
It's slightly over 22 feet.
Thank you.
And the width of that, the width of the lot is a conforming width, is it not?
That's correct.
And what dimension is that?
80 feet.
Okay. So I want to ask you a few questions in closing here. Will the requested variances alter the character of this neighborhood?
They would not. It's actually consistent with the neighborhood.
Will the variances if granted impair the development of any adjacent property?
Not in my opinion.
Will the requested variances be detrimental to public welfare or safety?
I would say no to that based on the fact that all the, the design for the proposed home will be according to the saldo and as far as slopes of driveways and things of that nature. So as far as safety and welfare, it would be prepared in accordance with the saldo. So I would have to say, there will be no detriment to the public.
Is the relief requested the minimum relief necessary to allow us to build on this lot?
Yes, it is.
And were any of these conditions that exist created by the owner or the applicant?
No.
Okay, Mike, I thank you for that. I have nothing further for you. Does the board?
But I am going to give our party protestants the opportunity to ask questions, and just to keep things in order here, I'll give you, your name and your opportunity to kind of ask your questions to Mr. Burchak here. So Mr. Battaglia, do you have any questions for his witness?
Not mainly on the proposed dwelling, more of some of the trees potentially on the property that are kind of not in a healthy manner and have caused power outages in the past couple of years. And I've reached out to the township manager last summer. Haven't really gone anywhere with that. So that's kind of before Steve Papa bought the property.
Okay.
So kind of just, those are kind of the issues that
and we'll get to them. It really, and what this is, just so everybody understands, is basically you're going to ask questions based on any testimony that he just gave. So if you do have any other issues, we will get to them in the end. So if you have questions based on his testimony, just to try to keep things moving along and keep it easier. So Mr. Schultz, do you have any questions?
Can I just ask, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was just going to ask Mr. Bursick about the slope. The slope of the property, Farview and Walnut right there is a high point in the heights, but if you've gone through the heights, you would know that there are other slopes off of the property. Even on the road on Walnut Street there, it does slope downhill from this property. Isn't that correct?
Mr. Burchak?
He looks frozen to me.
Yeah, he does. Either that or you stumped them with your question. I don't know.
I don't think that was it.
I wonder how that happened.
Well, let's give him a minute. He might be able to bounce back in here. Or... Oh, he dropped out. So Steve may just want to keep an eye out if he shows up as an attendee.
That was really it. I just wanted to talk about that.
Oh, there you are.
Mike, can you hear us?
Go ahead. You were frozen.
Yeah, so Mr. Schultz, do you want to ask your question again to Mr. Burchik?
Sure. So, Mr. Burchik, I was just referring to the property, and you mentioned that it is flat to gently sloping, but can we also admit that off of the property, from that property, there are slopes that go, especially on Walnut Street and down Walnut Street in the east direction, that it does slope from that property?
You're muted, Mr. Burchik.
I'm sorry. The general slope from the property would be going to the east.
All right, that's it. That's good.
Right.
I just wanted to make notice about that there is slope when you come off of the property.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. And Mr. Murphy, do you have any questions based on the testimony that Mr. Burchik gave here?
Most of his facts are pretty relevant and correct. I'm 64 years of age. I was born into this house at 112 Walnut Street. My grandfather was Thomas Newby, who's the name that some of you know of, because he was the roadmaster for Newtown Township for many, many years. So I know a little bit more about these roads in Newtown Heights and Florida Park than I think you gentlemen do. Most of these properties with these side yards was because back in the day, you needed that extra yardage for the septic tank and the laundry trays. And once the sewers came through in 1980, all of a sudden, those side yards weren't needed anymore, supposedly. But the zoning board, when they gave you a building permit back then, and I happen to know the Schatz house was built way before the sewers came through, that's why there's these big lots on the sides, because they were the septic fields, you know? And now you're starting to split them all up and take the neighborhood down to all these, not these single houses on 12,000 square feet, but in fact, what you're asking for here is you're asking for 2 undersized lots, not one.
Mr. Murphy,
2.
just to kind of rein you in here, do you have any questions for Mr. Burchik based on the testimony that he gave, though? We're trying to keep this
pretty good. I don't think he researched it enough, especially the road.
But do you have any questions for him?
No.
Okay, I'm just trying to keep things moving along here. So
Okay.
I know I've been through these cases before. I just want to make sure that everything's kept in order here. Do we have any other, am I missing anybody? Is Andrew a party protestant here? I see Andrew on the list here. Is that, or did I get all, is it just the 3 party protestants, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Schultz, and Mr. Battaglia? Are they our only party protestants? Just don't want to leave anyone out here. So, all right. So
Those were the 3 that you acknowledged before.
Okay, I saw the name Andrew in here, but just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anyone. So, Mr. Papa, it's back to you then.
Yes, can I jump in now?
Yeah, you're good to go.
For the benefit of Mr. Murphy, Mike, can I ask you a question again? We went over this, but we'll do it again. Mike, what is the current zoning in R3?
12,500 square feet.
Thanks, Mr. Murphy.
Questions for Mr. Burchik here. Sorry, Mr. Murphy. Go ahead, Mr. Burchik.
Mike, what is the current zoning in R3? Do you not hear me?
Regarding lot size?
No, the current requirement zoning area.
For lot area.
Is it not
12,000 square feet?
Okay.
12,000 square feet.
And what are these 2 lots again?
Lot number 1, which is to the east with the existing house, is 11,484 square feet.
Okay.
And lot 2, with the proposed home at the intersection, is 11,016 square feet.
Pretty close to conforming, not.
Yes.
Okay. Were there any other questions from the board?
Nothing yet from me. Any other members here with any questions?
I don't have any questions for Mr. Burchak, but again, like the chairman said, we get this issue a lot in the Heights and in Florida Park particularly, and in the avenues, all these non-conforming undersized lots. And I just want to, have you go on record, Mr. Papa. I mean, like, what have you considered other designs that would sort of enable the structure there without as many variances for setbacks?
Yes, we have. This house is a modest size. It's only 40 feet wide. And I think that that's pretty atypical. There are other houses. A typical home today is probably 55 feet wide with a 2-car garage. This is pretty compact. It is 2,900 square feet, but it's a 4-bedroom home. That's what people want today. We seem to be spending a little bit of time on the area. I thought the area was going to be the short pole here. We're only lacking by 500 square feet on one and less than 900 square feet on the other. And by the summer, these will be conforming because they're going to lower the area to 8,000 square feet. So the restriction on the corner lots, and I would argue that some of the cases that you've had over the years are way more difficult than this one.
And I don't disagree with you there. I mean, anyone who drives up and down Florida Park Heights kind of sees some of the decisions that have been made, and everyone can look at the houses in the Heights and say, we don't want that, right?
Sure.
And for me personally, I'm not speaking for the board, I'm speaking for me personally, the 11,000 and some change versus 12,000 conforming versus non-conforming isn't the issue. I think the issue for me personally is, you're asking for variances for setbacks in the corner lot and all, and I just want to make sure that this is the, I forget the verbiage, but the minimum burden to.
Yeah, minimum setback requirements that he can. But
can I answer, Mike? Mr. Lynn?
Go for it.
Yeah.
If this was an interior lot, we wouldn't be asking for the other 2 variances. It's simply that the restrictions are, if you have an 80-foot lot and you're required to have a 30-foot side yard on one and a 25 on the other, it doesn't leave you very much to build anything on.
I hear you. I'm trying to get ahead of some of the questions that are going to be brought up because this is a similar issue to one that we've been dealing with for years. And I just want to make it clear that, it's not going to be this gargantuan house on a tiny lot, as is the case in some of the other houses in the Heights or Florida Park. So just putting it into context, this is the minimum house size that you could theoretically build, and these setbacks are reasonable given the size of the property and where it is. So that's all. Just trying to kind of get that out because people are going to be asking questions.
Mr. Beswell, could I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
I'd like to, Mr. Papa, have you considered maybe a ranch style home on this lot that would coincide with Fairview Lane or Fairview Avenue rather than Walnut? For a couple reasons. I mean, obviously the lot is longer, has a longer frontage along Fairview. You would be able to connect to Fairview, which is a public road, not a private road. And I think it would, typically a ranch style home is longer in length than it is in width. And a 26-foot width in a ranch style home is fairly typical. That would give you a greater setback. And I want to make one other point of clarification. You've referenced twice now some future zoning, there's nothing that's been approved for smaller lots in the R3 at this time. So I just wanted to make sure the board understands that we're dealing with current zoning and we're not dealing with anything that may happen in the future.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah. So, and he really speaks to what my question was, is like, okay, you're looking at a 4-bedroom, 2,700 square foot house. Could you do less and not ask and not need the variance? That's all. Just want to have that discussion.
We would have to, in order to get the answer to that, the way the house is oriented now, no, because there's a 25-foot side yard requirement on the opposite side. Am I not right, Mike? There's the corner lot, which is, we can get to 30 feet, but the 172-109 requires a 25-foot opposite side yard. So this house is only 40 feet wide and I'm left with 9 feet. So I'd be down to a 20-foot house. It would look like some of the silly ones that are on Chestnut.
I hope no one from Chestnut's in here.
Well, somebody else brought it up. People are complaining about it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can I ask a question?
sure.
Can the house just be moved back? I mean, if you move the house back to where the jog is in the property, would you not create a larger setback?
We would, then we lose the backyard.
But the backyard requirement's only 25 feet, right?
Oh, I know, that's the requirement. That's not what people want.
You wouldn't get everything he was asking for if.
But again, what we're trying to do is have the minimum impact on zoning. I mean, it's the minimum relief needed. If we move the house back, we would have less need. That's all I'm saying.
So the only reason, just to make sure the variances, there's several, just so that are being requested. There is the setback on the right side of this map because of the way the other property, because of the driveway and access to the garage, that's only 9 feet. Are the other setbacks fine? The front yard and side yard at 30 feet setbacks?
No.
No, okay.
One of the 30-foot, we're requesting the 30-foot on the short leg of the corner lot. You can do it on the long leg. We're asking for it on the short leg.
What does it need to be then if we're saying that 30 is not, what should that setback be?
45.
And that's on what, on Fairview or on Walnut here?
It would be on Walnut.
So you could get the.
Oh, for the front, okay.
Okay.
For the front, okay.
Yeah.
Of which the other houses.
But again, so if you're doing what Steve says then and moving back beyond where that 9-foot setback is, and we understand what you're saying about the backyard obviously becoming smaller, if you move back 15 feet, would get you away from that 9-foot setback you're dealing with and a little closer to a minimum impact here. And at the same time too, in saying all this, I would like to move forward to hearing some input from some of our party protestants for what their actual issues are, as for coming forward as party protestants. And I don't want to disrupt your presentation here, Mr. Papa, so please, proceed if you have more to present before we open it up to Mr. Battaglia, Mr. Schultz, and Mr. Murphy.
No, I'll jump in as needed. I have nothing more to
Okay,
present.
so, all right, so Mr. Battaglia, I'd love to hear from you of what your concerns are.
So my concerns are fairly minimal, but mainly just making sure that doesn't change the character of the neighborhood. It does seem within, they seem to try to do their best to get it positioned properly. But there are a few other lots in the immediate surrounding area that could down the road also be kind of built on. So I just want to make sure it's not changing the character of the neighborhood here.
Okay. What do you think so far?
So far, I'm kind of okay with what I'm seeing so far. I do have some kind of concerns with some of the like landscaping that's going on that has been issues in the past years. I know there is some water concerns when it does kind of have heavy storms. So just with the more impervious square footage in the area, just if there's any kind of remediation or something.
And that always comes up. Obviously, once this is approved, stormwater management is always huge with any of this. So that would be the next step. So not, it probably be, I would assume, to even your benefit that there is stormwater management going in on a property like that. But I just want to make sure you had your opportunity here if you do have anything, before we move on to Mr. Schultz.
Yep. And then I guess the last thing is my like personal opinion. Yeah. If this house does get approved like this, I would kind of prefer if they did have a larger backyard, as I do have a smaller backyard, and I can see that can be an issue sometimes with having kind of a family and kids having a smaller backyard.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Battaglia.
Sure.
Mr. Schultz.
All right. Thanks for hearing me. And thanks to Mr. Papa. To be honest, he's been very pleasant with all of us neighbors. He reached out to us and sent the letter, and he met with us. So I do want to thank him for being so generous with his time and to try to explain it to us. As I sit here, it doesn't mean that I'm super happy with all the changes. I definitely don't love the idea that we're allowing for all the variances or the request for the variance to be given to someone who has owned the property for a month and just saw an opportunity to profit from our neighborhood, where this isn't someone that's owned this property for 50 years, 75 years, like we've had in the past. There's been people that the Heights, when they had those lots, people bought up those lots and then they passed them down. And I get that type of thing where you're asking, you're part of the community and that, but this is a chance for someone to come in and profit from our beautiful neighborhood. And I love our neighborhood so much. It was something that when my wife and I moved to Newtown Square, we loved the rustic nature of the Heights. We loved that, our road was a paper road and not paved and that kind of thing. We loved that Mr. Schott's house had a huge yard. And when the Schatts Mr. and Mrs. Schott ended up passing away and the son moved away, we saw probably 100 people throughout a weekend go and see the Schatts house. And literally kids like running around in the yard. And we were like, that'll be cool. The kids will, it'll be a great home for somebody. And maybe those houses that he wants to put in there will be a nice home for someone, but they're a nice home the way they are. That is a beautiful yard that is over there. I love my property because I have, maybe almost a half an acre. Mr. Schott probably has about the same. And that's gold around here to have that kind of place. And I don't love that we're putting, big houses in these, tiny little yards around it. And some people have said about the Heights, yeah, we've done that in the Heights before. And this zoning board right here is not the same zoning board that allowed some of those other places, those other properties to get built. And it was a shame when they did. And so I just want, that's why I protest, because, even if Mr. Pop is the greatest guy in the world, I'm here to protect, the people, that live around me and the neighborhood that we have. And I know that's sentimental. So sentimentality always kind of, sometimes it just you have to lose out. And I get that.
Everybody off the internet. I have trouble with my internet.
Okay.
Can you talk to Taylor, please?
Sorry, Mr. Schultz.
That's all right. That's all right.
I didn't hear it.
No, it wasn't anything for here. Mr. Burchek was talking to his wife about the internet.
Oh, okay.
Nope. No worries. I guess that was my cue to stop that. So let me go on to my second point. So my second point really was, getting to my question with Mr. Bursek. So yeah, the lot that this one lot, which is a beautiful, beautiful lot, which, even Mr. Papa said, as they're all cut up, they're very difficult to build on. And you know what? I love that about that lot, because that would be a great lot to keep in the Heights. But it sits on the high point of the Heights. And even the picture that Mr. Papa put on there of the home, you can just tell he's standing in the street in front of my house, and you can tell that house is up a little bit. And if I took the picture from my house, you would see it's up even higher. That corner of Walnut Street and Farview is like the top of the Heights. And if you go west on Walnut, you go straight down a hill. And if you go east on Walnut, you go down a gently sloping hill. And I know from experience, because my front yard and my driveway is a pool when it rains. And I can't imagine what it will be like when we lose all the yard and we have, the street paved, which he mentioned. Yeah, I was going to pave this road. Well, I don't want my road paved. That's why I love my road. I love that no one goes down my road and that, it's not paved. And, I was out there for 2.5 hours today, and I shoveled from my driveway all the way out to Farview. But you know what? That's the price I pay for a beautiful non-paved road that I love. So I don't want him to come in and change everything about what I love and then leave, because that's what he's doing. He's not there to stay. He's gone. Once those houses are sold, he's gone, and I'll live with, the broken down asphalt that's out front of my house now, and a street that's literally there's no gutters, or there's no curbs in the Heights. We know that, and there's in front where my house is, it all comes straight down to my house. So I'm very nervous about that. We do get some water on really, really, rainy days when, the ground is still frozen or something like that. And I've, a couple people said, you'll probably get it a little bit more now. And I don't want that. So that's my side of it,
No, we appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mr. Schultz.
Thank you. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Murphy.
Hello.
Hello.
I live just down from Dan here on the same side of the road. And he's quite right about all the water running down the street. And frankly, the people that are really going to pay for it are not me, because our house is up a little bit, but it's the people in the 0 to 100 block of Walnut. One of them just came up the road the other day, and I stopped him from going through because there's no road between John Whitney's property and basically Farview. They put some gravel down years ago, but there's nothing else there. And there's about a 150-foot stretch that it's muddy ruts that the trash truck got stuck in about 8 years ago, and they needed to bring in a tow truck to drag it out. So there's big holes, and I don't know who, somebody got stuck last Saturday in there. I'm not sure whether it was Dan who went out and pulled him out. I just heard about it later.
It was me, Harry. I pulled him out. Exactly right. I pushed that poor pizza delivery guy.
Oh yeah, because Google keeps on sending them up this road. So actually, that is the real issue here in Pandora's box. The proposal for the house, it looks pretty good, really. I like it for what it is, but it's basically the Heights are suffering the death of 1,000 cuts. You keep on cutting up these lots, and building these houses on smaller and smaller lots. Chestnut Street in the first 2 blocks has 6 of them that it could be done with. 6. So, But the main issue is going to get to be, what are you going to do about the road? Because there is nothing up there. It's gravel. And there's nothing under the gravel. At least in front of my house, my grandfather put the road in. And being a township manager, he knew how to do that. The roadmaster, we've got 18 inches of limestone, packed down, screenings on top of it, and it was roller locked. It's what's known as a Roman macadam road, but you don't have that up where Dan is. So what are you going to do about the road? Because you got, there's some issues there, because between Dan and me on the other, there's two lots that a speculator from Northeast Philadelphia owns, and we've had trees dropping on our properties because he won't do any maintenance on it. And across from him, it's Sam Stadford, real nice guy. The guy that built the house originally was Officer Copeland, police officer in Newtown Township. He signed away all rights to Walnut Street because he didn't want to be held accountable for the sewers or the water. So he has no rights to access Walnut Street from that property. So what are you going to do? You know, I don't want to see the road developed because it's actually supposed to be the main drag. If you look at the old plot plan, which I happen to have one from the development company from 1926 or something. Who's going? What are you going to do about the road? Because if you're going to let these houses go, and somebody's going to have to put, drainage in.
I want to really just clarify what's a township supervisor issue versus a zoning issue, right? And we really can't control. I do hear you. I mean, I run up there. I live around the corner from you, and that's something you got to bring to your township supervisors. And I know you got one living over there, not far from you.
Yeah, well,
but Andy can maybe speak a little bit about the drainage concerns, because I know we've had drainage concerns before, and the permit process is pretty stringent when it comes to that. So Andy, can you maybe speak to that?
Yeah, when the applicant eventually files for both his building permit as well as he'll also file for a soil and erosion permit, and he will have to account for all of the impervious coverage that's on that lot in accordance with our stormwater requirements. And that application goes to the township engineer. They do a really good job at making sure it's compliant. And I won't issue a building permit until the township engineer approves that stormwater management system. So as I know, and I can't speak to everything that's in the stormwater management requirements, but I will tell you that there should be less water running off at a slower rate of that lot than there is now. They will have to look at that lot as a meadow when they calculate it. And that gives them their starting point in the amount of water that it takes in now, and they'll have to account for that once all the impervious improvements are made. I hope that.
Thank you, Adi. No, it's a big help. And just to try to sort of progress things forward here too, for Mr. Papa, for your presentation, do you have anything else that you're looking to?
Kevin, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
To Mr. Papa, if you don't mind. Mr. Papa, you're requesting variances for the house that you've chosen or feel that is appropriate for this lot on a marketing basis. Isn't that correct?
Sure, yes.
And based on what you've testified here to, wouldn't be to your advantage for marketing this property to move the setback of the front yard back so that the side yard 9 feet would not be impacted as much as it is today? Is that right?
So if I understand, you're asking me if I move the house back 10 feet or whatever that
You
number is?
suggested some reluctance to do that, is what I heard.
Yes, because it's impacting the rear yard.
Okay.
Which
is
more marketable.
That's for your saleability, correct?
I've been doing this a long time, and I know people want to use their barbecue. They want to have some space as much as you can give them.
So I hear that as an economic hardship. What is the actual hardship that necessitates a variance?
Well, the fact that the requirement is 25 feet. I can't get 25 feet with this house. Mike, what was that dimension? It's 13 and 9, 22 feet.
Yes.
So even if I did that, I still need the variance.
Well, but
But
that's,
less.
that's for this size house.
Yeah, I go back to the same, I want to ask Mr. Papa the same question I asked before. If you went with a ranch style house, what is the, and I'll ask the question, what's the typical width being built today for a ranch style house? Because if it's 26 feet, you're going to gain 14, you have 40 feet now. So you would gain.
Andy, I'd be happy to answer your question.
Okay.
I've been doing this a long time and built many homes in Newtown Township and have been in front of this board. There is no average for a ranch house because they are not popular as new homes.
But there are ranch style homes in that neighborhood.
There are. It's not what I want to, not what I would build there. And to further answer your question, you had talked about turning it and facing it on Farview.
No, I was suggesting, I was suggesting you build the ranch style home to fit the length of the lot line along Fairview.
No, I understand.
Which would give you a greater rear yard and side yard in the areas where you need relief. And my point is, if you had an average of 26-foot wide ranch, you would gain 16 feet in width because you're proposing a 40-foot wide home. So you'd gain 16 additional feet.
So the problem is that when you are in the kitchen of that ranch house, you'd be looking right onto the side yard or patio of the existing house. And it was all about comfort and what people want and privacy. And we just thought this. And the other thing was, I have this house at 123 that faces a stone road. And I definitely understand where Dan's coming from. I appreciate his concern. But by adding another home oriented the same way, it sort of makes it look like a community as opposed to two houses behind another on the corner. That was the reason. We went through those exercises. That's how we came up with this plan.
From a party protestant perspective, it sounds like most of the opposition is to any house being built. They're not really protesting to whether it's a 9-foot setback or a 25-foot setback. Is that a fair statement to the party protestants, Mr. Schultz in particular?
Yeah, I'll talk first. So if Mr. Papa wants to, I mean, it would be a shame to knock Mr. Schott's house down and build some beautiful home on that big lot, then I think that would be great for the, a nice home on a very big lot. I think that or put an addition onto Mr. Schott's home.
But Dan, how does that conform to the setting of the Heights neighborhood? How many of those type homes are in there on big lots?
I'm not referring to a mansion. I'm just referring to a bigger. I'm talking about you wanting to make money. So therefore, I would think that an addition to Mr. Schott's house might be an option for that. All I know is that if I was you say you've done this for so long. My question to you would be, did you know the setbacks when you bought this property?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you just assumed, I guess, that you would just get your variances and you would be able to do this.
Absolutely not.
Wow. Okay. To answer the Mr. Soak's question, like I did say, yes, sentimentality. I love Mr. Schott's house. I love the yard, that kind of thing. So yeah, if it was up to me, if I was making the decision, I would say, yeah, just sell his house. You'll make good money off his house, and we can have a beautiful yard or a beautiful house with a beautiful yard. So that being said, my own personal opinion is he doesn't get what he wants, and so he doesn't get to build the house that he wants, and he doesn't get to build any house. So yes, if that's my protesting, if I really want to state what I really, really feel, then yes, that would be what I would.
I think even what Mr. Silk was trying to get, is there any version of a compromise to where there is something
I get that. Yeah. And I don't really, I understand the questions from, from everybody about like, I think moving the house back is an option. When I was looking at the house that he proposed, I couldn't tell what the height was of the house, like the total height of the house, because
We
it
can go
looked
back to
very
it if you
high
like.
to me.
We can go back to it if you like.
You can, I mean, but
You're just
to go
stating
back
in
to,
general that that was something you didn't like.
it was just something that when we're talking about the characteristics, Mr. Battaglia's house is I think it's a rancher that has, a 3-bedroom that they put in a development on, or an addition on. So that house will be a lot higher than all the other houses. So it will, kind of be out of place a little bit.
And Mr. Schultz, were you at the initial meeting with Mr. Papa when he had invited you guys for a discussion or no?
Yeah, he showed, I went into the house, into the 123 house, and he showed me, I didn't see the pictures that are up right now, but I did see the of the lots with the dimensions of the proposed dwelling on it. I forget what number it is, but it's one of the things that he has as his evidence there. So he did show me that.
And I only asked that because in previous versions of this same scenario, we've asked the party protestants and some of those surrounding neighbors to be able to, maybe get together and have a meeting before the next zoning hearing meeting to see if there's some version of a compromise that can be met that, Mr. Papa has taken into consideration some of your concerns and addressing them before that meeting and saying, hey, look, maybe we can do a house of this size and change this around, rather than us just making a decision and, one of two things happening, either that it gets approved or it doesn't, and then he appeals it and it's kind of out of our hands. But if there's an opportunity here for everyone to get together and potentially have a compromise, if we were to even move forward, I mean, I know what we're still dealing with here is the setbacks and the lot size itself not being, 12,000 square feet for what it should be. I just, just my thoughts on, putting it out there.
I think it's a fair option for all of us, all the parties. I know, we know that the house market is pretty crazy right now. For him to say that moving the house back by, what is it? I don't even know, 5 feet is going to change the amount of money. I mean, how is it going to change it by what? $100,000? Absolutely not. It's not going to, I mean, for him to not say he could move it back just a tad to compromise, like you said, sir. I think that is a compromise. I think that Mr. Battaglia, he likes the idea that a nice home is going there because it's right across this, it'll be the side of it will be right across the street from him. My wife said, well, at the very least, who knows, our property value will probably go up. Yeah, I guess it probably will. But like I said to Mr. Silk, if it were up to me, I would put nothing there. But I think a compromise is that it just gets pushed back a little bit. So we have, the 45-foot front yard. And that's the main setback, right? I mean, 9 feet on that one side. I mean, I'm over 6 feet tall. This is 6 feet, and that's only 36 more inches. So just think of a car being parked in that driveway and then that house being 9 feet away. That's pretty close. And so if it was pushed back a little bit, that would alleviate the fact that that house was right up against that person's driveway.
No, and I don't disagree with you. And I think even what, Mr. Auslander brought up is basically the hardship being that he just wants to market this better to be able to sell it when, we have an opportunity to make some compromises here and hopefully make, everyone happy. And that's what I would prefer to see happen here instead of any decisions being made.
So, would your solution to this and Sam too is to continue this and leave the record open?
Yeah, we would leave the record open. I would love to know, and typically this would be arranged obviously between the attorneys, I guess, but since Mr. Papa is representing himself, I don't know how we can make the arrangements of getting Mr. Papa and Schultz and Battaglia and Murphy together and any other, people here for public comment. But I really do think that that's the best, opportunity or option here before we make any decisions. I would love to give you guys that option. Is that something everyone on here is open to? Mr. Schultz, Battaglia, Murphy?
I think it's fair.
Yeah, that's fair, but can I offer maybe a different solution?
You could do that when you guys get together.
Well, this is something that the designer would need to do. My solution is when you look at the lot, and the problem is the side driveway on the old house. What would it take to redo the roof line and make the garage on the Schultz's house face Walnut Street? Then you wouldn't need the variance.
It's not deep enough to do that. It's
How short are you?
A single car garage is only 9 feet deep if you went in from the front. We did look at that option, so we wouldn't house a car.
So I also want to make sure we're talking about pushing houses back and turning them and not creating a house. I think from what Mr. Pop is saying, not creating a house that doesn't need a variance, which you wouldn't even have to come here, and is now just even more out of place than.
Well, I think they're going to need a variance for a few things, even with the changes that were suggested, but I think just less of an impact. You know, looking at this 9-foot setback between property lines would change. They've already got the 30-foot setback for what is the front right now, that if that shifts over, reducing the size of the backyard, some of that changes. So there's going to still be multiple variances, but I think with that, you know, looking at the less impact, as Andy put it, to zoning. And also, you know, trying to make the surrounding neighbors as happy as possible with what can be put in there.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I'm happy to meet with them and see if we can work something out, but I would like to say something to Mr. Schultz. Dan, if I sold that property tomorrow to whomever it is, somebody's going to want a paved driveway to get to their house. That's just the way it is. If it wasn't me, it would have been somebody else. That's just the fact. If we line not 100 people up, 95 of them are going to want some kind of paved driveway to get to their home. So I'm just telling you, that's the reality of it. So I know that's a sticking point for you, but I just want to bring it out.
Papa, are you agreeing to a continuance, have a conversation with the neighbors?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you have any questions or you have anything that you'd like to talk to me about, or if I can assist in any kind of arrangement with neighbors, I'm happy to do so as attorney, but I'm certainly not going to advocate for either side, but I'll certainly help where I can.
So to be clear, if we come to some kind of agreement, that a plan basically that we can show you next month that everybody's in agreement with, this would just be a continuation of this meeting?
Yes, it's a continuation, and the board would then consider the revisions to your application predicated on whatever those changes might be. Okay. If they're less than the requested and there's some improvement that everyone in the protestants would agree to, then the board will consider it and vote accordingly. I mean, it's still an independent vote by the zoning board.
Yeah, this is by no means our way of saying, hey, get this worked out and we're good to go. I mean, obviously you still have to vote on it, but.
Understood.
Yeah. So are we good with that then? And we'll open it up too, because I know we have just public comment.
Yeah.
And anything we're looking.
Just to add, so if you don't come to a solution with the protestants, your application's still pending, and the board will vote as if there was no discussion or no continuance.
But I could modify the requests next.
You can request a modification, yes.
Okay. Is there a time frame on that?
It would be our next meeting.
Well, no, I understand that, but in order to get it in, does it have to be re-advertised or anything like that? Like, well, this had to be in 30 days ahead. Does that have to be in 30 days?
And I defer to Andy on this, but I suspect that if you're going to change or add a request for a variance or some other additional relief, then aside from advertising, we would probably have to advertise whatever your additional request would be. I mean, if you're going forward on the application as was presented this evening, then the board will render a decision on what's before them. If you modify that, then we'd have to advertise whatever the modifications are if they affect anyone else in the neighborhood.
All right.
And if we continue the hearing to a date certain, which would, from my calendar, it would be March 18th, we wouldn't have to re-advertise.
Okay. And just for up next, to give everybody a heads up, if we are going to do public comment, these are just public comment. So I'm not looking for this to become a debate. I just want to, if anybody here does wish to make public comment, please raise your hand now and the floor will be yours and we'll promote you forward.
Mike, could you put A2 back up, please, for the audience?
So I see Ms. Wilson still has her hand up. If we want to promote her forward for public comment.
Thank you. This is Patty Wilson, 4111 Battles Lane. I'd like to offer you some updates that will hopefully cause you to do a little more research prior to the next meeting. First and foremost, Mr. Papa has represented that he has lots that are in single and separate ownership. There are actually 2 parcels here, one of which has what looks like 3 lots on it that are combined with Z's, and one other lot that looks like it stands alone. All of them were owned and used by Mr. and Mrs. Schott. By virtue of those lots being used as an appurtenant to the property, they have now essentially been merged. And the court case that speaks to that is West Goshen v. Crater. So first and foremost, I believe that Mr. Papa should not be here without either a reverse subdivision to take the parcels or the lots that were as part of this total property and either reverse subdivide them or not. But the fact is, he has one property. He doesn't have essentially 2 lots there. Second, and additionally, the court case DeChico v. City of Philadelphia also speaks to this. Additionally, okay, so now he's got this parcel that is conforming. He is now suggesting that he's going to take a conforming parcel and make 2 non-conforming lots. In Dunn versus Middletown Township Zoning Hearing Board, it was determined that if an applicant's subdivision plans would create the nonconformity that the applicant seeks to resolve by variance, the applicant should not be granted the variance. So additionally, much of the case law also speaks to the notion of a developer coming in and saying to you that his hardship is he can't sell something, or it's not as economically good for him. The fact of the matter is you don't grant variances, and legally you can't grant variances because somebody claims an economic hardship. It is strictly that there's a hardship with the land, and there is no hardship here. I'm going to urge this board, because you have ended up with so many of these cases, 2 of which went to the Court of Common Pleas, where they reversed your decision, and I'm hoping that you're going to appeal that decision at the Court of Common Pleas, that you understand specifically in this case, prior to even considering it, you should be sending Mr. Papa back to do the appropriate land development and subdivision here. I agree with Mr. Schultz. This is essentially somebody that's going to change the character of the neighborhood, and he's going to take one conforming lot and create 2 non-conforming lots. I'm going to urge you to not approve this. Thank you.
Miss Wilson, I don't know what deed you're looking at, but the deed that I have has 3 parcels, A, B, and C. This isn't the first
I'm-
time I've done this.
I was
I
trying
am
to keep this as
looking at-
public
I am
comment and
looking
not
at-
a debate.
Okay, I'm looking at the tax map. I would
Well,
urge
tax map isn't
the
the
zoning
deed.
hearing
Yeah.
board to look at this, at the tax map and to speak to Mr. Resick and Ms. Spar, who can speak to the notion of when you have a parcel that has the Zs on it, those are joined. And-
Mr. Auslander, do we go by tax maps or by deeds?
Well, we go by the evidence. Whatever the evidence on the record is what we'll utilize.
So,
Can
so
I
once
just
again, to
interject?
finish my public comment, I am going to urge the zoning hearing board to seek the counsel of our zoning officer as well as our zoning administrative personnel who can go to the county, can look at the tax parcels, and can see the case law that says, in this case, because Mr. and Mrs. Schott owned these, because they treated these parcels as appurtenant to their house, this now is one parcel, one property, and anything Mr. Papa would like to do would require subdivision and/or reverse subdivision. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your public comment, Ms. Wilson. Do we have anybody else that would like to make public comment? If you do, please raise your hand.
I see someone else with their hand raised.
Yeah, Pete,
Attendee,
I don't think that's his last name, but all right.
but he can share that.
Mr. Attendee?
Yes. How are you doing? My name is Pete Kennedy. I live at 214 Walnut Street, just a little bit down the road across Farview.
All right.
And I just wanted to, I guess, just say that I think that Mr. Lynch and Mr. Neese made a couple of good points, and I think other people did as well, along the same lines. That the lot is a little bit undersized for, I guess, for the residential zoning, whatever it is, and you know, that's, I think, a fair thing to request a variance to be able to build on it. But then to build a fairly big house, I think, you know, I think Mr. Papa described it as modest, but it seems pretty big to me. So I just wonder if, as Mr. Lynch said, you know, if there's a possibility of scaling down the dimensions a little bit so that the variances aren't necessary, or at least aren't, you know, quite as drastic. And I think was it 2,900 square feet or something along those lines? It seems to me that there's not many houses in the neighborhood that are that big. So I don't know, you know, it's, what is it, 4 bedrooms and two car garage or 2 garage doors. Just doesn't seem like it needs to be that big necessarily, you know, especially if it's not kind of a by right construction. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Pete. Do we have anybody else looking to make public comment? Oh, we have a Bernie Tarashi.
Oops.
Hi, Bernie Tarashi, 701 Farview Avenue. Really didn't have much of an opinion about this. I just wanted to kind of see, you know, what he was looking to build. But after hearing Mr. Papa talk about this, it seems like, you know, he could just kind of move it back or make something smaller. Doesn't really want to. He's just looking to build something to make some money off this. So there, based on that, I'm kind of against him building anything at this point.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Tarashi.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment before we wrap this up? All right, I think we're good. So this will be continued in next month's meeting.
To March 18th.
March 18th, okay. All right, well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate all the input from everyone, and we'll see you guys March 18th.
Kevin, can I just put something on the record?
Yes, sure.
last month, we had an applicant before the board and a decision was made with respect to that 20 Clover Lane parking situation. The applicant has now requested a modification on one of the conditions. And he has requested the opportunity coming forward next month to explain the request for modification. The board agreed to do that.
I'm okay with it, Kevin Bascom.
Yeah, I'm the same, Ed Burzes.
All San Francisco, I'm the same.
Okay.
Mr. Auslander, will that require another advertisement?
We would just have to, yes, we would have to advertise it because it's a request for a modification. We may need a little testimony from the applicant on the circumstances giving rise to the modification. But so everybody is well aware, we can't change the decision. We can modify a condition.
Good.
My office will reach out to the applicant to make them aware that we'll need additional fees to cover the expense of the advertisement at a minimum.
Okay. Thank you, Andy.
All right. All right, I think that's it then, right?
Yep.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your
All right,
time.
good luck,
everybody.
guys, with getting that worked out.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye.
All right.
Good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good, thank you. I just want to, how does Schott spell their name, that Schott property? Did anybody know? Like, is it SCHOTT or something?
For the former property
Sounds
owners.
right.
It came up a lot. That's
Yeah.
Tom, I have it on the application is SCHOTT.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you there.
All right. Have a good night.
All right, thanks.